Hey everyone, I'm Cecil Laird.
Jaime and Fuego here.
And this is your horror show news
with booze! That's right. You were ready for it, right? You're having one with us, right?
Yeah, I've
right?
got too many already today. So, this is of course the usual Friday tradition here at the horror show where we talk about this week's top horror news stories as far as what Fuego and I decide are the top horror news stories because we have that power!
Yes, I have the power!
And of course we have the option to say that it is a light news week and we are only going to cover 6 instead of 8 news stories.
Yeah, and that's because we had hey, here's an update about the Don't Breathe sequel is still happening. Yeah, thanks for just
Danny McBride says Halloween's going to be scary again. Ooh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great.
Kevin Bacon says, the Tremor series is still in development.
Yeah, there's
that's
a lot of
a sentence of
there's
an
a lot of
that
kind of
really...
stories which we're not going to do. So we're going to actually get into the 6 things we think there was enough meat on the bones that we can chew on. Yeah, see, we're there. We've had just the right amount. So, Fuego, lead them into the first one.
Yeah, so the first one, you probably have a little bit more insight because I think you're familiar with these shows a little bit more so than I. But,
and how.
Yeah, and how. But Fox decided to,
give
all
an
of
update,
the,
right?
an update, but all of the TV stations, at least as far as the NBCs and the original, what would they be considered? The original networks or the...
Original, oh god.
I mean, there was NBC, ABC,
CBS.
Yeah, you're standard.
The first 4/5 if you include Fox.
The free television, exactly right. But Fox being the ones who were a little bit more on the dangerous side for many years, so they decided to renew a couple shows that were unexpected, and then
more
they
than
also,
a couple people because there's a lot of people involved in TV shows.
I know. So there were 2 shows that were renewed that a lot of people they thought they were on the bubble. They weren't sure if they were going to actually come back, and then
really excited about both of those.
And then there were also a couple, which one I think some are sad about, and another people are just like, "What the hell took you so long?" So first, let's go through renewals. Let's go through the happy news first. Give me the good first, and then the bad later. What's the good news?
So the
good
first
news.
ones that were good, in my opinion, the renewals, as it were both really positive for me because I know both myself and Brittany Lee are big fans of Lucifer.
Yeah, I've had a lot of friends talk to me about it, and I have not watched it, but...
It's good fun, and we've talked about it on occasions. Lucifer comes to Los Angeles and starts helping a Los Angeles detective who he has this odd attraction to, and he's had, numerous women, of course.
Damn right he has.
He has the ability to find out, he can say, "What do you most desire?" in his really sexy British way.
Oh, he's British, of course.
And they have to answer. They're obligated to answer. But this detective is the first person he's ever run into that doesn't have the compulsion to do so. Doesn't have the compulsion to sleep with him.
Does she have some divine...
That has been possibly revealed in the back half of season 2. So, it has been announced that Lucifer is returning for season 3, which is exciting.
Yeah, a buddy of mine at the day job, dude, he loves Lucifer.
It's great.
He was like, I heard they're going to cancel it, man.
It's
I'm
the
really
only
sad.
kind of police procedural that I'm okay with because it's been so done to death, that whole scene.
Yeah.
But when you add Lucifer, and that's the thing, he's able to present himself as Lucifer to the people that he wants to. So the criminals, when he gets face to face with them in the 3rd act of almost every episode.
Talk about good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, exactly. He ends up revealing himself, which is essentially a skinned humanoid form that is very evil looking, and people see it and they freak out.
Of course.
And but the detective never sees it. But it's cool. It's a blending of your typical police procedural, your supernaturals involving Lucifer,
Wasn't there a supernatural reference to...
There is. Oh, there is. Supernatural referred to Lucifer, because in Supernatural, Lucifer at one point says, "What am I going to do? Retire and move to LA to help the police?" And
Shows how smart the show is.
It was really hilarious. And then there's also a third aspect of the show, which is very Sopranos-ish, because Lucifer sees a psychotherapist.
Really?
It's hilarious,
so it's
because
analyze this kind of thing.
it's a little bit, again, it's more Sopranos with him and the doctor, because that was a thing that carried through the entire show. That was amazing.
I never watched the Sopranos.
Yeah. So Tony Soprano, the lead, the head of the this particular section of the New Jersey mob, went to see a psychologist who knew what he was, and they had to speak in code, kind of. But
wasn't that what Analyze This and Analyze That were about?
Yeah, well,
and he was a mobster.
Well, but I think I don't know which came first, chicken or the egg. But nonetheless, there's a bit of that with Lucifer and his psychotherapist. So that aspect of the show is really funny, especially when she finds out who he actually is.
Oh, because she does.
She does. That's the thing.
Spoilers!
It's a bit of a spoiler, but that's the good. I won't say when it happens because that's the nice thing about this show. It's not one that takes its time and has to stretch over 22 episodes. The first 2 seasons were like 10 and 13 or 13 and 13, something like that.
Even on Fox, really.
Yeah. They're because they were shorter runs. It was like a mid-season replacement kind of deal.
Fox is all about those shorter runs though. Look at the X-Files recently.
Well, hey, BBC has been doing 6-episode runs for years extraordinarily successfully. Doctor Who, 13-episode runs. So, yeah. We know that 22 is just a bit too long for certain types of shows.
22.
So anyway, I'm excited about Lucifer, and then the bigger one. Jesus, that was a long time talking about Lucifer.
I know, and I was thinking that. But
the one that I am way excited about, that a lot of us will be excited about, is that they finally decided Fox is going ahead and renewing The Exorcist, which a lot of people thought was not going to happen because of its subpar ratings for the first season.
Yeah, they were kind of on the bubble. That was the show that was basically on the bubble, and I think the renewal of this was the kind of cause and effect of the cancellation of another one that we're going to get to in a moment. But The Exorcist was a show that I still have not watched. Yes, hit me with the hate.
And we did a first episode reaction on the channel, which we were underwhelmed by.
Yeah, but then, and a lot of critics were too. They were like, this show's terrible. And then Bloody Disgusting, I think, put out an article 3 or 4 episodes in saying, we were wrong.
It was the 5th episode.
We were wrong.
5th episode.
Yeah.
Something happened through the 5th episode.
There's a big reveal.
Where you're like,
we don't
oh my god, this was planned. This is way better than we thought. And that's exactly what happened with me and a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Some people liked it all the way through. I was bummed by a lot of the choices in the first act or in the first episode because they didn't make sense to me. But by the time the 5th episode happened, you're like, oh, now everything in the first episode makes sense to me.
Ah, so they did tie it back properly.
Well, there was character motivations. Like, essentially, there's a couple of weird things that happen, and suddenly Gina Davis is like, there's a demon present. And you're like, what? Why would she jump right to that? That's so weird. But then in episode 5, there's a reveal that
it's a big one too.
Makes you understand why she jumped right to demon, and you're like, oh! Like that. So that's really exciting that we're going to get more of that. It's nice to know, now that I know what I know, and now that I've seen what I've seen in that first season, Gina Davis, I thought, looked very wooden as well in the early episodes of the season, but by the end, she got to really stretch her talents again.
She's a talented actress,
man. Oh,
she
definitely is.
I loved her. She's been awesome.
My god. I loved her. I actually loved her in Cutthroat Island. I loved her the most in The Long Kiss Goodnight. I thought that was a fantastic action movie. Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson. Very good, in fact.
So I really dug seeing her, and I thought the young girls were great. The daughters. They were excellent, and of course,
excellent.
And of course, Ferris Bueller's best friend was really good in the show as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was the one who was like kind of paralyzed or had some sort of affliction.
He had an affliction. He wasn't paralyzed, but he did have a mental disorder that was really, it played out.
He was the father of
correct, the father of the 2 kids, married to Gina Davis.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So
yeah, The Exorcist was excellent.
Yes,
and
excellent once again.
The Exorcist was really good, and I'm excited about the 2nd season.
Excellent, Exorcist. I don't know, man.
Jeez,
that was
I can't believe it took so long on that first episode. Or the first part.
And there's still a second half to the first part. Yeah, but that's because these could have all maybe been separate news stories, and since we combined, there's only 6 stories, so deal with it, yo. Now we have the cancellations, and I'm actually going to go for the one that people expected first, even though I listed it second. I've never watched Sleepy Hollow, but I've heard people say the first few seasons were great, but then didn't they change the setting of the show?
No.
No?
No, they did not change the setting, no.
Or like maybe they changed where
it was a temporary thing.
Or...
No, what happened was the first 2 seasons happened. Basically, Ichabod Crane, from way back in the day, gets cursed by a witch and wakes up in present-day times and joins with a cop in Sleepy Hollow in New England.
Rip Van Winkle status kind of
thing? It was, but it was really great because the actors worked really well together. The female cop and the guy they got to play Ichabod, he did an excellent fish out of water performance, and they did a... Jesus, fuck off. Don't point it out every time. No, but he had all these stories, like because he was in the early the Revolutionary War, and he knew Benjamin Franklin and all these guys, all of the originators of America. Like he plays the role of the guy that was trying to build America before he got time traveled. Now he's seeing the ultimate result of all of his efforts, so he has commentary that's really clever and stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually curious what his thoughts would be about the society that we became.
It's so funny. It's so good. And I thought the bad guys were good. I thought Moloch, the overall baddie for the first couple seasons, was great.
I was about to ask if there was a Monster of the Week or if there was an overarching.
It was a bit of a Monster of the Week, but no, there was an overarching thing. And even Walter from Fringe played a big part in the second and third season.
Another show I've watched some of.
Oh, man, really Fringe was great, too. But so Sleepy Hollow was great, but they did something where one of the leads was no longer part of the show after the third season, and so they tried to do a fourth, and the fourth I haven't even bothered because I don't care. Like the chemistry between the two leads was like the main reason I watched the show, and without one, I just don't care. And I think a lot of people felt the same way because Sleepy Hollow's done.
Yeah, I was gonna say if the ratings dropped after that character is no longer there, it kind of makes sense, but. The last one is one that I know a lot of friends of mine that I've spoken to are disappointed by, even if they didn't like the second season as much as the first season. But the last cancellation by Fox that was announced was Scream Queens is Dunzo.
I'm fine with that.
I know that's what Emma Roberts, that's her name?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, she jumped from 2 seasons of American Horror Story to lead up the new, is it Brian Fuller? I want to say his name is. He was the guy who did Glee, he did American Horror Story, and then he helped develop this one. She jumped to be the lead in Scream Queens, and people loved the first season, and then they were like, second season's okay.
Well, the first season was clever, but the second season was just more of the exact same, but done less cleverly.
So it was like a hospital instead of a sorority.
Yeah, but it was the same characters carried over from the first season, as opposed to just the same actors playing new roles, which would have been much better.
So it did not take the American Horror Story approach of sorts then?
No, it didn't.
Okay, yeah, so Scream Queens cancellation, that's going to upset a lot of people. Jamie Lee Curtis put out a tweet where she was like, it was all me, and I was so happy to be a part of it, and so on and so forth, but we have really just gutted this story.
So that leads us to the next story then, Fuego. We have to jump in on it, and that is going to be all about the fact that the previously pulled from the schedule, Leatherface, has made its way back onto the schedule of 2017.
And I wonder why. Something else left from the month it's jumping to.
Interestingly enough, Insidious, Chapter 4, is no longer in the October race, and so Leatherface has jumped back in, which is, of course, the origin, quote-unquote, origin prequel story of Leatherface himself.
Yeah.
So that's interesting timing to say that that movie's gone, and let's take that spot.
Jump right in.
Yeah. So what do you think about that, Fuego?
I'm excited to see it. I did enjoy the third and fourth and New Generation, and even the remake I didn't think was too terrible.
I actually liked Texas Chainsaw. I liked the Jessica Biel one, and I liked the beginning. Yeah, I liked that one.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
That was our introduction to Alexandra Daddario.
Oh. Yes. If you've seen True Detective, you know why.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can also tell why in 2012 and the new Baywatch movie coming out.
Yeah, she's not a bad actress. I mean, she's not just a pretty thing to look at.
She's not just a pretty face to look at.
That's actually fantastic. No, but I guess one of the film's producers jumped on Twitter within the past week, and I'm like, within the past week, and they said it's officially being released in October. They did not mention a specific date, but they also showed this new image you're seeing right here. It's the same. It's kind of the same vibe of the kid in the cornfield and the "follow me" like spelled improperly on his back. We're guessing that's a young Leatherface, but the story is supposed to center around a girl who is a nurse at a mental institution that gets kidnapped by a bunch of teenagers, tortured, craziness ensues, and that sparks something that creates Leatherface. We're not sure if it's one of the teenagers or a kid who sees what they're doing and, either helps out or gets messed up himself. Stephen Dorff is a crazy cop who's kind of dirty in his own way. We don't know how or why, but I mean, Dorff I will watch in anything. He's a hell of an actor, so I'm cool for that. And Lionsgate picked it up, so it is presumably going to be released theatrically. So, yeah, finally seeing it. It was on indefinite hiatus for a while. Not always a good sign. Rings. But,
no, not really. But I'm still interested to see, Leatherface return to the big screen in some way, shape, or form. Exactly.
Yeah. Although it makes me wonder, will we see any flesh face and chainsawing in this movie? Who the hell knows? Maybe the teenagers will be chainsawing up people in the cornfields. I don't know.
And speaking briefly, though, of Alexandra Daddario and Baywatch, that leads us to our next story involving another star of the upcoming Baywatch movie, Zac Efron.
Yes, who kind of resembles, when I saw the photos side by side, and I'm showing photos side by side here, kind of looks like him, doesn't he? Just a little bit. Zac Efron is going to be playing Ted fucking Bundy. Crazy, right? But you can see the resemblance a little bit, and it's going to be in a film called...
I don't think Ted Bundy is quite as ripped as Zac Efron is.
Well, now, because he's been just really trying to just go at that since those Neighbors movies or whatever, but the film is called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. Yeah, that's kind of a...
Really? That's a hell of a jumble.
Title. Yeah, that's a jumble title. That seems more like a book title than a film title for me. However, they made the announcement at Cannes, or whatever the hell they
Cannes Film Festival.
Cannes Film Festival, yes. Thank you for the clarification, sir.
Well, some people say Cannes.
Yeah. In any event, Cannes! But, yeah. So, Efron playing a serial killer. The story is definitively, and it's been confirmed, told from the perspective of his longtime girlfriend who defended Bundy until the very end despite her suspicions, and then it wasn't until the evidence started to pile up that she was just like, okay, yeah, he probably killed a lot of people, and then he went to trial and the evidence piled even further up. So it's going to be told from the perspective of his lady, which is interesting, I think, but it's supposed to be bloody. I don't know if there's going to be any humor involved because there's not really too much fun with what Ted Bundy did, but weird news this week from The Hollywood Reporter about this. What's your thoughts, man?
I've never been a big real life horror fan, as far as investigating all these serial killers, your Gacy's, your Bundys, your all that.
Dahmer.
Yeah, your Dahmers.
He's probably the worst for me.
Don't really, I just, as much as I love horror, I just have never really cared that much about real life serial killers. Give me the mystical ones. Give me the slashers. Give me your monsters.
Well, didn't they even base Leatherface, our last story, off of
Ed Gein?
That's right. Yeah, not Ted Bundy. So
no, I know that they play a huge part, and I like some of them. Like I really like The Ugly, which is about a serial killer, which hasn't even been converted to DVD as far as I know, but
it's still on VHS.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there, but it's never interested me that much. So Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Who knows? But the next two stories are going to be really fun because I loved both of these movies, especially the next one, which is the fact that as the Turbo Kid team works on the sequel, which we confirmed on the news maybe a couple months ago, but their in-between film is going to be from RKSS. I didn't even know what these French-Canadian directors' names stood for before, but it's apparently Roadkill Superstar. That's what RKSS stands for, which I think is pretty rad. And they're doing a film which is called Summer of '84, and it's going to start shooting in July, and it's going to be released near the end of the year, and it's about a 15-year-old kid has a very fright night.
It's going to start to shoot in July and be released by the end of the year.
That's what they said. Yeah, they're hoping like a November-December release. So they're going to
ballsy. They must be building all the backgrounds right now.
Yeah, and maybe 6-week shoot, 8-week shoot, and then not a lot of digital or anything like with Turbo Kid, because this is like straight up slasher. This is about a 15-year-old kid in the 80s, in 1984, who suspects that the police officer who lives next door to him is in fact the serial killer that the entire suburb is looking for. And so what he decides to do is get him and his band of buddies to start investigating. That's why I said a Fright Night vibe,
So it's a little bit of Rear Window.
Rear Window / Fright Night minus the, vampire aspect. Yes, exactly. And if they're doing it in the 80s, we laughed so hard when we saw Turbo Kid where they were like, in the distant future, what was it, like 1999?
1997.
Something like that. Yeah, so they're obviously going period piece. They have a knack for visual brutality, but portraying in kind of a laughable manner, and so I hope it's like horror with a decent dose of comedy, and that it's fun, and that's all I can really ask for from these guys. So
I agree with you. I'm excited to see anything that they do. I love Turbo Kid so much. So
I love Turbo Kid.
Sticking with the 80s, it's like, okay, all right. Hopefully you guys
Everybody
can do more
seems
than
to be
that.
doing
But
it now. The whole Stranger
nonetheless,
Things craze.
I'm excited to see what they can do. I'm fully on board. I loved Turbo Kid. I loved the prequel music video.
Yeah. And the fact that they're developing a sequel is awesome.
I love it. I love it. So I will definitely be there to check it out, whatever it is that they milk.
I also love Lawrence LaBouffe.
Lawrence LaBouffe. Oh.
We love Apple.
R.I.P. Apple.
Yes. Anyway, the next one ties actually directly with our previous story because Timpson Films produced both Turbo Kid and Deathgasm. And Deathgasm was another film that horror, comedy, very bloody, crazy, silly, all over the place. And this one is going to star Daniel Radcliffe. So he is going from being a wizard to a Horn Joe Hill creation to a farting corpse to apparently in this one, this is basically like Zach Pilgrim meets...
Scott Pilgrim?
Did I say Zach Pilgrim? Thank you, News with Booze. So this is basically Scott Pilgrim meets Battle Royale. It's the best way that it's being described. So
and Daniel Radcliffe's going to be
He's going to star in it. So
he's
like a slacker with like a craptastic job, pining over his ex-girlfriend, whatever it may be. And then, lo and behold, he gets mixed up with some dark internet website that basically takes people who have inadvertently signed on and throws them into these almost like gladiator type situations where they have to beat the shit out of each other and kill each other while it's being live streamed in a brutal graphic nature for the entire world to see. So
awesome.
Yeah, so they're going to be killing each other, live streamed on the internet, and apparently his ex-girlfriend gets pulled into the fray in some manner. The film is called Guns Akimbo. I don't know if that's a...
Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo. I don't know if that's a New Zealand thing or a Canadian thing or whatever, because Deathgasm along with Turbo Kid, if I'm not mistaken, were collaborations from both of those sides of the pond. But damn, anything from the Deathgasm director, I am totally cool with, especially if it's going to be... they're stressing the fact that this is going to have comedic aspects to it, just like Deathgasm. So it's going to be super over-the-top gory with the fights and stuff, and... I'm cool with it, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I am too. I'm a fan of Radcliffe because he takes chances, and Deathgasm was good fun. So I know that the gore will be in good hands.
Yes, indeed. If that film was any indication,
if it's any indication at all, yeah. No, I'm excited about that for sure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you roll with the last one since we didn't have too many details about the Turbo Kid directors and the Deathgasm guys, but. There's a relaunch coming, right?
Yet another relaunch, which is that of the cable network, SYFY, otherwise known as SYFY, soon to be known as probably Sci-Fi.
Yes.
It was.
And you have to make sure to have the capitalization we have so many stupid commenters on here who are like, it's actually lowercase s with
They're not
F
stupid. They're detail oriented.
I know, but it seems so excessive. We love you guys nonetheless, but it's just like you're really reading.
The channel started out as SCI-FI, the Sci-Fi channel, science fiction channel.
Yeah.
Then it did a relaunch in maybe 2010 or something like that, and it became SYFY.
Yeah, and
which made no sense at all because FY doesn't stand for anything.
I know,
and neither does SY.
And they tried to justify it because they were moving into horror, fantasy programming, just like genre in general, as they.
There are no Ys in horror, or well, there's Y in fantasy.
I know, but they were just trying to make it its own silly misspelled thing, just like. I love the band Churches. They spell it with a V. Does that make sense? No. I don't know. People are silly sometimes.
What do they spell with the V? The U?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Churches.
So it's
I love Churches.
Churches?
Listen to Churches. They're awesome. But they pronounce it Churches. They were just trying to not get confused in the Google searches. But
well, anyway, they're relaunching for the 25th anniversary of the channel itself, which is all well and good. But what they're essentially saying is they are rededicating the channel to more original programming.
Yep.
Which is good to know because, well, it's good and bad because technically Sharknado is original sci-fi programming. But at the same time, their Blood Drive might also be considered original sci-fi programming.
Put that in the notes, man. God damn. But they also have Channel Zero. They have the 12 Monkeys show.
Yeah, which Channel Zero is supposed to be great. I still haven't watched that first season.
I love 12 Monkeys. It's one of my probably top 15 to 20 favorite movies I've ever seen. I've never watched the show.
I watched the first episode and I'm like, I don't need to watch any of that
even after Shepis was telling me at Fangoria FearCon, she was like, because her husband works on it. She was like, if you haven't watched it, dude, it is so good. Shepard wouldn't shut up to me about that, and I still haven't watched it. But there's also the Krypton show, which is more on the fantasy hero side of things. In any event, but they have a couple new shows, which I'm going to mention the first one because it's a George R.R. Martin show, which was previously adapted as a movie in '87.
You talking about that? I'll talk about this.
It's called Night Flies. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But it was based on a 1980 novella, which it's very familiar topics, guys. So Earth is dying. They send out the most advanced ship ever.
What?
What? I'm going to pull a Broflovsky
exactly.
mama.
You got it.
I did, of course. I love South Park. Favorite show. But the most advanced ship ever is being sent away. And they're supposed to find like a new place, and then they intercept an alien craft beacon. And it was made into that
alien crafts bacon?
Bacon, exactly. Who doesn't love bacon? Bacon. But an alien craft beacon, and they go, and the ship is alive, and there's
sorry,
and the ship is presumably alive with some sort of artificial presence. Have any of you guys read Night Flyers, which is also the name of the ship that they are
Stephen
taking?
King's The Night Flyer,
which is fan-fucking-tastically
I love
awesome.
That movie.
That's a great
this
movie.
Is called Night
Short
Flyers.
story's tremendous too. So this one is actually called just Night Flyers. There's no article beforehand.
And then the other program that they are preparing for.
This is the one that you're familiar with.
Very interesting because it began as a 4-issue limited series from Image Comics, the same people that brought you The Walking Dead and Invincible.
And Spawn.
Of course Spawn. And Savage Dragon and a number of other properties over the years. They are bringing a representation of Grant Morrison's 4-issue series called Happy.
With an exclamation point, right?
It is, with an exclamation point. And it's essentially about a police detective, if I'm not mistaken.
Former police
detective that has an extreme accident in the first episode or issue. And when he wakes up in the hospital bed, he suddenly can see a magical blue miniature flying horse called Happy Horse. And this.
Do your best impression.
Hi, I'm Happy. And I'm only going to say it that way because Happy is actually being played by none other than Bobby Moynihan of Saturday Night Live
fame. It's been a while, yeah.
And not only that, but he's been a huge contributor to Comedy Bang Bang, the podcast that I love so much, run by Scott Aukerman. Bobby Moynihan was a part of, I think, of the last 5 years of Comedy Bang Bang, Bobby Moynihan was a part of a top 5 episode of Comedy Bang Bang, 3 of those 5 years, all having to do with something called Time Bobby, where he played a miniature person called Forval, a miniature homeless rat that liked to stab people, and he would talk like,
what would he stab them with?
He would a little knife. He'd be like,
rat-sized knife.
He'd be like, I'm very stabby. like that's how you would
scalpel,
talk.
please.
So it made it very easy for me to imagine him going, "Hi, I'm Happy."
Look at that photo. Look at them bucket teeth.
Yeah, them bucket teeth. Exactly. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this. The series gets twisted. And it's essentially about an ex-cop spiraling out of sanity.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
He becomes a hitman. He's apparently casually killing people, over-sexing it, over-boozing it. It all sounds fun to me, so I'm down for silliness and savagery all together for this show.
Yeah, definitely. And Grant Morrison is an extremely talented writer, and he had some good fun with this series, so I'd be excited to see what we get as far as the live-action version of it. So... that's going to do it for this week's news stories, you guys. Thanks very much for watching. As always, comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the news stories, which ones you're most excited about, all that good stuff. Sorry if we were a little boozy, but I thought we reined it in pretty well.
No, 2 weeks ago, me is the benchmark for boozy.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego, and make sure to tune in all weekend, right?
Absolutely. This weekend, you guys, if you're watching this, chances are you're not far away from our very first, or already past our very first, Mad Monster live stream, because we are going to be doing a lot of really cool things this coming weekend at Mad Monster Arizona, including speaking to some celebrities, which those actually might come a little bit later because I think they may want us to do some edits on that before we present it, but we will be doing some live streams so you can see what the event's like. So make sure you tune in all weekend long. Make sure you click that bell for the notifications so anytime we pop up, you guys are there with us. Thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego.
And until next time, remember, stay scared.